You ever just stand in front of your refrigerator, maybe grabbing a late-night snack, and wonder, how does this thing actually work? I mean, it's in almost every home, humming away, but the way it creates cold feels, well, kind of like magic. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and solve that mystery.
Seriously, think about it. It's a box that somehow fights against the temperature of your entire kitchen to keep your food from spoiling. It really does feel like it's defying nature. But it's not magic, it's just some seriously clever physics. And the secret? Well, it's probably not what you think it is.
Okay, so here's the big secret right up front. Your fridge doesn't make cold. That's not a thing. Instead, what it's actually doing is moving heat. It's a heat mover. Its entire job is to grab the heat from your food, from the air, from everything inside that box, and just dump it out into your kitchen.
So how in the world does it move all that heat?
Well, it does it with a really elegant, continuous loop that's powered by 4 key parts. Let's meet the team.
This right here, this is our map. It's called the refrigeration cycle. We're going to follow a special fluid on its journey through these 4 main stops: the evaporator, the compressor, the condenser, and the expansion valve. So let's start the tour.
All right, our journey begins with that special fluid I mentioned. It's called a refrigerant, and we're starting right where all the cooling action happens, inside the fridge itself.
First stop is the evaporator. This is basically a set of coils inside your fridge, and this is the part that actually gets frosty and chills your food.
And here it is. These coils, usually kind of hidden behind a panel in the freezer or the back of the fridge, are where all the heat from your leftovers and your milk is literally soaked up. Think of it like a sponge, but for heat.
So here's the physics. A really cold, low-pressure liquid refrigerant gets pumped into these coils. Now, because the pressure is so low, its boiling point is incredibly low, way below freezing. So even in a cold fridge, it starts to boil and turn into a gas. And you know how when sweat evaporates off your skin, it cools you down? It's the exact same principle. This evaporation process sucks up a ton of heat from everything around it, making the inside of your fridge cold.
Okay, so now our refrigerant has soaked up all that heat and has turned into a gas. It's got to go somewhere, right? This is where the heart of the whole system kicks in.
You see this black component? It's usually tucked away at the bottom back of your fridge. That's the compressor. It is the engine of this whole operation, and yeah, that's the part you hear humming every time the fridge kicks on.
And the compressor does, well, exactly what it sounds like. It sucks in that cool, low-pressure gas that's now full of heat, and it squeezes it hard. It compresses it into a much, much smaller space. And just like when you pump up a bike tire and the pump gets hot, compressing this gas makes it get super hot and raises its pressure way, way up.
So now we've got this really hot, high-pressure gas that's carrying all the heat it stole from inside your fridge. The next logical step? We've got to get rid of that heat.
And these are the coils that do it. You'll find them on the back of most fridges or sometimes running underneath. Next time you're near your fridge, carefully touch them. You'll feel that they're warm. That's because this is literally the radiator for your fridge, dumping all that unwanted heat right into your kitchen. As that hot gas snakes its way through this long, winding path, the heat just radiates away into the cooler air of your room. And as the gas loses all that heat, it starts to cool down and condense, turning from a gas back into a liquid. It's still under crazy high pressure, though.
And this, right here, illustrates the whole game perfectly. The evaporator on the left soaks up heat from the inside, and the condenser on the right dumps that exact same heat to the outside. It's just a heat-moving machine. That's all it is. We're almost at the end of the loop. Right now, we have a high-pressure liquid. But remember, to absorb heat again, we need a cold, low-pressure liquid. There's just one final piece of the puzzle that makes that happen.
This tiny thing is the expansion valve. In a lot of home fridges, it's actually a super thin tube called a capillary tube, but it does the same job. It might look small and insignificant, but its role is absolutely critical to starting the whole cycle over again.
So that high-pressure liquid gets forced through a teeny tiny little opening, like an aerosol can nozzle. When it sprays out the other side into a much bigger pipe, whoosh, the pressure just plummets. This sudden, rapid expansion makes the refrigerant intensely cold again, turning it back into that chilly, low-pressure liquid that's ready to go back to the evaporator and soak up more heat.
So we've seen the whole journey, but what about our little traveler? The magic of this whole system really comes down to the properties of this one very special fluid.
So what is this stuff? A refrigerant is basically a substance that's been chemically engineered to have a perfect boiling point.
It can evaporate at really low temperatures to absorb heat and then condense back to a liquid at higher temperatures to release it, all just by changing the pressure. It's the perfect vehicle for heat.
You know, in the world of engineering, there's a fancy term for all the heat energy being carried by the refrigerant. It's called enthalpy. The easiest way to think about it is like a backpack for heat. In the evaporator, the refrigerant fills up its backpack with heat, so its enthalpy goes way up. Then, in the condenser, it empties that backpack out into your room and its enthalpy goes down. Simple as that.
And that, believe it or not, brings us right back to where we started. Because this isn't a one-and-done trip. It's a constant, tireless loop.
So let's run through it one last time, super quick. Step 1. Evaporate. The refrigerant boils inside the fridge, absorbing heat. Step 2. Compress. The compressor squeezes the gas, making it hot and high pressure. Step 3. Condense. The gas cools down in the coils on the back, releasing its heat into your kitchen. And Step 4. Expand. The liquid rushes through a tiny valve, getting ice cold again, ready to repeat the loop. This cycle runs over and over, day in and day out, to keep your food fresh.
You know, this exact same principle is at work in your car's air conditioner, your home's AC unit, you name it. It's a perfect example of elegant physics working silently right under our noses. Kind of makes you wonder, right? What other invisible science is powering our world, hiding in plain sight?